Actually, in terms of getting into the industry at all, my dad, who was quite a serious man, said that I had 1 year of fooling around, and then I had to enter the marketing department at Unilever. And in my first year, I earned, I think, £546 or something like that. But I then luckily got my first TV commission, and that got me through the door as far as he was concerned. And I got an agent actually by someone seeing me performing up in Edinburgh. I got very lucky that some lovely, keen American woman who was living in London liked my jokes. I got started in television by hanging on to the coattails of Rowan Atkinson, who, when he was 20, was a genius, and it was obvious that he was going to be a TV star, and I was his closest friend and wrote things for him. And so we drifted in, as comedians tend to, by doing stage stuff of our own up in Edinburgh, and then did a radio show, which is the traditional Radio 4, which was pretty poor, and then started writing sketches for a sketch show, which became Not the 9 O'Clock News. And then I wrote for that for 4 series. So it was a very traditional route. And then from a sketch show, I went into a sitcom, and then from a sitcom, I went into films. John Cleese, in many ways, weirdly, is the most influential person in my career, because when I was young, Monty Python was all there was. 50% of your conversation with friends was just quoting Monty Python sketches. So, as it were, like a generation before would have had the Goons, and the generation after might have had, you know, the young ones, as it were. For me, it was Monty Python. And that's what made me interested in humour and started me writing sketches. And then, strangely, the reason we wrote Blackadder was because Fawlty Towers had been so extraordinary that when I tried to write a modern sitcom, it just looked so pathetic in comparison to Fawlty Towers that we only wrote a historical one to avoid Fawlty Towers. The big influence on my films would probably have to be Woody Allen, just because I so loved his films when I was young, and he made films that changed style and developed so quickly, so you were always interested by what he was going to do next, and he gave you the confidence to try different things. And it was particularly for me, who'd written silly sketches and a silly sitcom. So Woody Allen did silly films when he started, and had started from sketches and ended up writing Annie Hall, which was much closer to what I loved, and the first film of his that I really loved. So me then having the confidence to write 4 Weddings may have been based on my passion for and confidence gained from Woody Allen. My obvious piece of advice is to make sure you write or do what you really like. There was a bit of a pressure on me when I started. They would say, you know, British Rail's funny, or, you know, dreadful sandwiches that you buy in M&S are funny. Write a joke about that. And I think it's really important to do what you think is interesting, not what other people tell you might be interesting. For me, writing to sort of get work, because you know that sort of work is popular, is a disaster. So I would say, write from the heart and hope that somebody likes it. As a sort of person in films, I suppose my obvious thing would be to take every stage of the process incredibly seriously, and I would say to get very involved. So I had a script editor who was also my girlfriend, who made me rewrite 4 Weddings 19 times, so I didn't just hand in something that I thought might be okay. It had been ruthlessly dealt with. I then worked with a director who was obsessed by casting, and the casting process took forever. So actually, once the movie had been cast, it was almost made. And then I think the final thing is that when you're editing, you can fix most films. I mean, at least 3 of my films have been, when finished, the first really careful cut have been spectacular disasters, really, really bad, failed movies. And we managed, just by determination and thinking you know, things through in a different way, to make them eventually work by hook or by crook. So those are some of my pieces of advice.